Hi everybody, and welcome to the presentation today. Today is Friday, which means we're doing eBay. And if some of you guys hadn't noticed who are currently active and selling on eBay, there's a fall 2015 seller update that just barely came out. And there's some pretty interesting stuff. This is actually, in my opinion, probably one of the better updates they've had for sellers. And specifically because it tackles the problem that eBay sellers have been having lately with what's called the defect rate. Now, if you've seen any of my presentations in the past, we've tackled this issue before. We've talked about what the defect rate is and how it's calculated. And although I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on it right now, I do want to just briefly show you the defect rate. This page right here, which I'd be happy just to, you guys who are here live, I'm going to send this all out to you guys so you have this page too. I have recordings on the defect rate, so if I go a little fast right here, you can find one of my recordings on it, or ask me about it and I'll get you a recording on it. But the defect rate is basically a way that eBay measures how good your account is, okay? Like they can actually put a score to how good they feel like your account is on eBay. And if your defect rate raises too high because you have too many quote-unquote defects, you can lose your account. So you want to keep your defect rate low. Now, when I say defect rate, guys, I'm not talking about like your product has a defect when you ship it out. It's more talking about a defect to your account, meaning something that you screwed up on. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Here are the current transaction defect rate requirements, okay? So I'll just read this to you guys. It says the transaction defect rate is the percentage of your transactions that have one or more of the following defects, okay? Meaning you had a transaction, you sold something, and there was a problem. The first bullet point here says your detailed seller rating was a 1, 2, or a 3 for item as described. Do you guys know that when somebody buys an item from you, they get a like a little survey from eBay telling them to rate you in certain areas, and if they rate you as a 1, 2, or 3 in the item as described section, that counts as a defect. You need to have at least 4s or 5s. Second thing is detailed seller rating of 1 for shipping time. So they can rate you from 1 to 5. If they rate you as a 1, that's a defect, okay? If they leave you feedback on your account and it's negative or neutral, that's a defect. If there's a return initiated for a reason that indicates the item was not as described, that's also a defect. So if somebody gets the item in the mail, let's say you sell me a Halloween costume, and I get it, and I look at it, and I'm like, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted a scary-looking mask, and you sent me, a princess costume, right? I'm going to be mad about that, so I'm going to initiate a return, and when I initiate that return, I'm going to say, you know what? The item wasn't as described. I got the wrong thing. That's a defect. Okay. An eBay money-back guarantee request or PayPal purchase protection case open for an item not received or an item not as described. That's kind of the same thing as we talked about above. And then seller-initiated transaction cancellation. This affects a lot of you guys. If you run out of stock on something and you cancel the order because you ran out of stock, that's a defect. Okay? So all of these things right here, guys, the eBay, as you sell on eBay, you're sort of like these things are tracked on your account. And if you get too many defects on too many of your transactions, you could be in trouble. You may fall below standard, they'll call it. And you may lose your account, okay? That's the defect rate. Now, there's been lots of complaints over the last little while. I think this defect rate thing came out a couple of years ago from sellers saying it doesn't work. It's too complicated. it's not fair if a customer leaves you neutral feedback and you get a defect, or it's not fair if you just have a customer that's hard to deal with and they put a 1 for shipping time when that wasn't really the case, or whatever, right? They just don't feel like it's fair for sellers, and I tend to agree. So what eBay is doing, and that's what brings me over to our new update that's coming out here. It's going to be February 20th of 2016, so Q1 of next year, this is going to come up. They're changing the defect rate. This is what it's going to be changed to, okay? Now we just looked at, this is seller performance standards, and we just looked at what it's like today. I kind of described to you this column right here, okay? That's the current defect policy. What eBay's changing this to is they're going to say, we're going to make it really simple so you guys know what we want you to focus on. We want closed cases without seller resolution. That's going to stay. And speaking of, you know how just a minute ago I opened up a case against the buyer a minute ago on my account? Let's see if I can bring it up again. Oh, I must have closed out the window. I guess it's not showing it. But I, as a seller, opened up a case to eBay. That's what a case is. It's when the buyer or the seller goes to eBay to basically mediate an issue. I just opened up a case with that seller or with that buyer because they didn't pay me. What they're saying is, if there's a case that gets closed, if a buyer has a problem with you and they open up a case against you, and you don't resolve that, if it's not seller resolved, in other words, then that's a defect. Okay, that happens right now, so they're going to keep that, and then they're also going to keep seller canceled transactions right here. Meaning you ran out of stock or something, and you contact the buyer. They've already paid you, and you cancel the order. Okay, that stays. But they're getting rid of all the other stuff. So if somebody left you a negative feedback, it doesn't count as a defect anymore. If you have these other items right here, low DSRs, right? You get low seller ratings in your DSR for shipping. This other stuff, what we were talking about, it doesn't count anymore. It doesn't hurt us, which is kind of nice. The only thing we have to be concerned about are these two things. Okay. Now there's a new thing they're starting, and I only know a little bit about it. I'm going to share with you this video right here. We won't watch it together, but I'm going to send it all out to you guys. There you go. Anyway, I just emailed you, or it's not email, I say email. I just messaged all you guys that are here live the YouTube video for this new shipping metric. So eBay is going to roll out this new way of deciding if your shipping was good enough, okay? And I'm not going to comment on it any more than that. We'll probably do a presentation on it later. I mean, granted, this stuff is all coming out 2016. So it's not something we have to be really, really hyper concerned about right now, but we will review it probably the first part of next year. And I may review different aspects of this as the year goes by to get you guys ready for it. But basically, eBay is going to watch what happens with your tracking number even more closely. So Robert, earlier you were saying that because of slow processing, eBay or Walmart didn't get you your tracking number very quickly, and you loaded that tracking number up outside of your handling time. That now going forward is going to be a defect starting in 2016. That'll be a defect, okay? So we have to make sure we have suppliers that we're working with, that when we say we do 3-day handling, that they get us that tracking number, and if they don't, we need new suppliers, because that's going to become critical. Like if you did that enough, you could lose your account over it. So you have to make sure that if you say 3-day handling, you do 3-day handling, or else defect starting in February of next year. Okay. Also, the other thing that's interesting is that's for when you're shipping it out. If the item doesn't get there on time, right? Like let's say, for example, Robert, you got your tracking number in, right? 2 days into your handling time, so you're good there. if the item doesn't get delivered on time and it gets lost in the mail, or it takes an extra week and a half because it got sent to Houston instead of Dallas, and then it got sent back, and just, you know, the post office messed up, or whoever was shipping it messed up, you're protected. That's not going to be a defect because you did everything you could. You loaded up your tracking number on time. So that's good. So you're protected that way. The other thing that could save you is, let's say you loaded up your tracking number outside of the handling time, but the item still got there within the estimated shipping time, then it wouldn't be a defect. So it's weird. eBay's just trying to make sure one or the other happens. Either you get your tracking number in early and on time, then you don't have anything to worry about, or if it comes later and you still get your tracking number in there, but it's 4 days instead of 3 days, as long as the item arrives to your customer on time, it won't be a defect. And that's how they're going to track your shipping. So anyway, you'll see what I mean as you watch that video. That was a really rough summary of what you're going to learn about in the video. I think it'll be easier for you to follow there. And then I've also got a little graphic here that explains it a little bit better. I'll send this graphic out to all of you guys so you can study this a little more. And then hopefully that, anyway, hopefully that graphic makes more sense. We'll cover this in a little bit more detail, but that's the essence of the new defect rate. So that's what I felt like. These changes are really positive, guys. That means the defect rate is measured a little more favorably towards sellers, and it's easier to track, and you're not relying on customers, you know, giving you negative reviews that could potentially really hurt your eBay account. That's just not going to be the case anymore. We still have to do a good job, of course, but I feel like it's a lot more fair. So the date is February 20th of next year that this is all going to roll out. I'll prep you guys as we get closer. And nothing life-changing at this point. The big update is the spring update of next year, and that's usually when they come out with lots of big changes. And I'll keep you guys abreast of that as well. But this is the fall update. There's a couple of other things in the fall update that we didn't cover. We may do in some other webinars, but we felt like this was definitely the most important part. Okay? All right, let me see what questions we've got, if any, here. Michelle, you say 3-day handling time is from the time the order is placed until you order it from the company. In essence, yes, Michelle, but it's more technical than that. It's like I was explaining earlier. If somebody bought something from me right now, my time it's 12:30 in the afternoon on Friday, and let's say I have 3-day handling. Okay, that means again that handling days are business days, by the way. So tomorrow is Saturday. That doesn't count as a handling day. The day after that is Sunday. That doesn't count as a handling day. The day after that is Monday. That's day 1. Day 2 is Tuesday. Day 3 is Wednesday. I have till midnight on Wednesday, day 3, to make sure my tracking number is loaded up into eBay. So it's not necessarily like 3 days to order it. It's 3 days to order it from your supplier and get your tracking number back. That's how to keep in line with your handling time. Does that make sense? Hopefully that clarifies that a little bit. Okay. Other questions? When do you mark an item as shipped? Is it when you have ordered it from the company, or is it when the company sends you the tracking saying it has been shipped? I wait. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. You can mark it as shipped, and your customer will know that it's been shipped, but it technically hasn't really been shipped until you've got your tracking number, right? Because still it's processing. You may have ordered it from Walmart or from your supplier, but that doesn't mean it's shipped. That just means that they're preparing to ship it. So if I were you, I probably wouldn't even put in that it's been shipped at all. I think I may have had a different opinion on that in the past, but honestly, I don't think you really need to do that at all. if you weren't going to get a tracking number at all, you might mark it as shipped and then email your customer and say, hey, it's been shipped, but we don't have any tracking information on it. But most of you guys are going to have tracking numbers, and so you're going to want to load it in there. Annette says, how do I resolve negative feedback when it's not the seller's fault? I sold a DVD, and the 80-year-old buyer said there was a different movie on the disc. Several weeks later, she admitted that there was already a DVD disc in her player of another movie, and she made a mistake, but her feedback was already recorded. That's funny, Annette. that's too bad. You can get that appealed and resolved. eBay actually has a feedback appeal program. Let me see if I can find it really quick for you. Feedback appeal, eBay. Usually the buyer has to get on there and agree. Let's see. Here it is, right here. I won't go into detail on this. I'll send you the link, though. We'll send this out to everybody so you have it. We should do a little presentation on it at some point. But this should resolve it. You can definitely get that scrubbed from your record. How frustrating, right? Obviously wasn't your fault. Yeah, you can get that scrubbed for sure. Barbara, you say that the time you get confirmation that the customer has paid is the order time. Yes. Yep, that's right. That's when so it's not officially ordered until somebody's actually paid you. That's basically what you're saying, Barbara, and that's true. That is very true. Okay, guys. Hopefully this was somewhat instructive. Policy presentations are never the most fun in the world. I get that. But defect rate really affects drop shippers, because one of the biggest problems we have is drop shippers, or working with drop shippers, is we don't have full control over our inventory. And if we have to repeatedly go out of stock on something, we could be in some trouble in losing our eBay account. So that's why I bring up defect rate and we talk so much about it. If you're carrying your own inventory, you almost never have to worry about it. It's a little more of a challenge for us that are basing our businesses on drop shipping. For all these benefits that come with drop shipping, there are a few drawbacks, and this is certainly one of them. All right. Okay, so good enough, guys. I think we're going to go ahead and finish up. Thanks for coming along. We're going to turn off the recording and finish up all together. So if you guys have any additional questions, contact your coach. We'll be doing eBay next week, same time, same place. As always, thanks for taking time on your Friday with us. You won't regret it. You do this on a regular basis, you're gonna know eBay better than anybody, and hopefully that translates into making money on eBay like nobody else. Okay? All right, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time.